So in the April 11th StarCraft match that I uploaded, I talked about the Oracle Rush, right? I mentioned that oftentimes it's good to have two or more oracles in case the opponent has a cannon or turret. In this match, you'll see that play into effect, right? So going back to like the beginning of the game here, so I know the opponent is Terran and Protoss, and so because Terran tend to be more of a problem than Protoss, I'll focus on training Templars as opposed to the Immortals for the countering Stalkers from the Protoss. But sometimes I like to see if which of the two players, whether Terran or the Protoss, is performing better, right? So I might actually um, do different from that generalization, right? Of Templar, more more focused on Templar than the Immortal, based on race. So again, building the Stargate, another Stargate, the Gateway, and then the Cybernautics, and then after that the Stargate, but not the Robotic Bay just yet. And then the other thing with workers, because it's out of 16, sometimes it's beneficial to create some workers in between the creation, the building of the structures. Sometimes it's not; it just depends. In this case, in this match, I did build workers in between. And there's a Stargate again, similar to the match that was uploaded on April 11th. Right, the pylon to increase the food um, maximum, right, from whatever it was before to now 31. And again, it's because I'll be busy with the oracles, taking out the workers, the opponent workers, and I won't have time to go back to the base and create a pylon. Those few seconds actually do make a difference. And so I am making right now the first oracle. I'm using the energy boost, which basically makes that training go faster. And I built a sentry. I started doing this kind of recently, only because of I was being rushed, and so the sentry is a good. The shield that it provides is a good. Coupled with the stalkers, is a good counter to any to most rushes. So there's the Oracle again, and it's yeah. Ideally, the Protoss tend to be the workers from the Protoss race tend to be a lot weaker than those at the Terran. So it takes a little bit longer to take out the worker from the Terran as opposed to the Protoss, right? I just happened to come across the Terran worker first and not the Protoss worker, but here you can see I spotted the Protoss workers, and they're taken out much faster than the Terran worker. And then sometimes they'll yeah they'll catch on and they'll be thinking time to build a turret, right, like right there. But take out the worker that's building the turret, take out the worker that's building the expansion. That delays their growth, and their counter. And so this opponent has a third base. Like I said last time, the oracles are good at scouting expansions. So I came across that expansion with the oracle that I was using to scout, and it's it's away from the main bases, right? So like I said, sometimes you'll find it in places where you don't expect them. This was, I guess, somewhat expected, but there's other places where there's less expectation. And so here's the, I think that's the third oracle. Um, you're gonna see in a bit that I combine all oracles I've made to take out the anti-aircraft. First the cannon, and then later on the turret. And in the meantime, I'm building my army, Stalkers, 1 century, and then Templars. So the expansion gets built a little later, um, just because I want to focus on an army early on to counter and to then um, do a attack on the enemy. But you can see here that one of the opponents already has left, and very likely it's because of the Oracle Rush. I took out a lot of the workers basically, and it takes a while for them to get those workers back. So here it is, the cannons being taken out, right? So the opponent will usually build like 1 or 2 cannons, and when you have enough oracles, like 3, that's then destroyed, and the workers are readily basically taken out. And then there's a turret here. If I was a little bit more careful, actually, I probably wouldn't have even lost that oracle. But you can see how that turret was taken down, and then now the workers are being taken out. Yeah. And so I'll use the energy booster to make workers from both bases. The immediate expansion plus the original Nexus, just to get that 16 out of 16 on workers. And then now I have a somewhat of a sizable army with that sentry that's going to create help with the shield. And so I didn't do it this match, but in other matches, I think it's important to have already or to have some Templars to go along with that initial wave against the opponent's army. Because you'll see that without Templar, the Terrans tend to be really, really good at countering, especially with those tanks. And I've noticed also when there's a lot of tanks that are sieged, like more than 4, Immortals tend to be really strong against or resistant to tanks. But even that strong barrier or armor they have is really no match for an opponent that has more than 4 tanks sieged. Yeah, so see, so it's important to have a Templar against Terran. My stalkers, are now gone. But in this next wave, I do have a Templar. And so, because my emphasis is on the Templars, not the Immortals, I'm building more gateways so I can build um, Templars as well as Stalkers. And so that's my third expansion. I'll use my initial Nexus and my first expansion to then build workers for my third Nexus. Um, so I think you'll see here that even with one Templar, it's pretty effective. But because of the energy that it uses up, I believe it's 150 mana. It's good to have more than one Templar. And so that's what I'm doing. I'm building more Templars with, so I can do Psionic Storm more. Oh, and see here, like there's no anti-aircraft building, so the workers are, they're being taken out without any what is it, any destruction of the aircrafts. And so I'm just scouting the base to see what other units the opponent is going for. Sometimes they'll shift. Um, and so I'm scouting now and then the base around, seeing if they're building a different type of unit. So I can then shift as well and counter that type of unit. So here I have quite a bit of Templars. So I think four should do it, but since the first two waves, the first being the bigger wave, and then the second one being a much smaller wave, were less successful, I wanted to make sure, and so I made sure I had a lot more Templars this time. And so I'm just about ready, but then to go and send the third wave. But then I'm also thinking here, you know what? Zealots. Zealots would be good. Normally, I just do the Stalkers and the Templars. That's pretty good. But because I have a lot of minerals, and that's another thing with Protoss, oftentimes it's the Vespene gas that the player ends up having less of than the minerals. And so to use up the minerals, Zealots is a good way because it only costs minerals and no gas. And so there I'm building other pylons along the base for the cannons. Although I don't need them for this match. This is the last wave, and you'll see that basically the Templars were very, very good at taking out the Marines and then the tanks. And here comes the Zealots, which I then use to push further into the opponent's base. And I have the Templars in the back just in case. But the Zealots pretty much have it here because they're pretty good against the Valkar in ground mode. And so the opponent's gonna, well, I mean, there isn't really, there you go.